We're back with another one. Okay, so I have been a fan of epic rap battles of history since the tail end of season 1, beginning of season 2, somewhere in their 2011-2012 era. I've written a few battles of my own since then, none of which have come to a video, but lyrics do exist. And I know that ERB has paved the way for a lot of other people to do similar style rap battles like this, such as Whitney Avalon with Princess Rap Battles, or Freshie Canal with his series. But these are kind of the pioneers of that, essentially. And they are kind of the epitome of humble beginnings, because not a one of these season 1 battles is going above mid. Not a one. Let's begin, shall we? Lennon versus O'Reilly is gonna go into. Oh, hold on a minute. There's supposed to be an F tier. There needs to be an F tier. No, that's not what I said. I said to click on the gear. There needs to be an F tier. I can't put Lennon versus O'Reilly into D tier. That's too high. It goes into F tier. Because its matchup doesn't make sense, and it's not good. Ben Franklin versus Billy Mays goes into C, because I appreciate the usage of Billy Mays, even though it's kind of dated. Gandalf versus Dumbledore, pretty good one by season 1 standards. Shakespeare versus Seuss, pretty good by season 1 standards. Mr. T versus Mr. Rogers, it's funny, but it's lower because I don't like name battles as much. Unless there's something else to go with. Columbus versus Kirk, not good. Pete versus Lloyd, good by season 1 standards. Vader versus Hitler, pretty good. That's probably like the quintessential of season 1 is Vader versus Hitler. That's kind of where everything took off. And that's why it also has 2 and 3. Lincoln versus Norris isn't good. F tier. Matchup doesn't make sense. Pele versus Gaga, not good. Goes into F. Macho Man and Randy Savage versus Kim Jong-il, F. First 5 ERBs all have a political figure in them, and only one of them has a sensible matchup, which is the one that has a Star Wars character in it. None of the other 4 of the first 5 make any form of sense. It really feels like half of the season 1 was just really taking to heart the if you could see anyone fight, instead of the, well, why would they fight? Bieber versus Beethoven, I think is decent. I think you could make it work for a sequel. I think Bieber has more on him that would work, and there's more to delve with for Beethoven. Einstein versus Hawking used to be my favorite whenever I first started watching, but it just goes there now. The best line from it is Albert E equals MC squared. That's a really good line in an otherwise mediocre battle. Khan versus Bunny, not good. Don't understand why it's here. I don't understand why it exists. It doesn't have a matchup. It doesn't have a connection. It is a matchup. It does not have a connection. There's no reason for it. Napoleon versus Napoleon. I don't like name battles, as I said, but it is kind of funny. That marks the end of season 1. We can get into season 2. Adam versus Eve goes here. It's not good. It's funny, but it's not good. Doc Brown versus Doctor Who. I am a huge fan of Doctor Who. I hate this battle. How are you going to simultaneously not use Alon-Z or mention Jelly Babies at the same time that you have the deep reference cut of the Fifth Doctor's regeneration? I don't get it. And Alon-Z is a pretty easy one to do because at any point in a rap battle you can say, let's go. And that's what Alon-Z means. And it's like, that is beyond surface level. That is above surface level information. I don't get it. The Doctor Who side, it's such a lopsided battle that would have benefited so much from the Patreon helping with writing it if it was written today. I feel like they probably could do a sequel for it. Use 2 different Doctors, or 3, depending on how many verses it has. But, yeah. Master Chief versus Leonidas. I'm going to put it here. It's not good, but I do think it's a funny matchup. And I don't know if it warrants a sequel, but I'd like to see them try it again. Cleopatra versus Marilyn Monroe, I'm going to put here. I still don't think this is the right matchup. I really like Marilyn Monroe versus Eva Peron. I think that would have been a much better matchup. I don't know about for Cleopatra, but for Marilyn, absolutely. Eva Peron would have been an amazing opponent to put up against Marilyn Monroe. But they have some punches in this. They have some punch. You've still got no children after your 3rd marriage. You lost so many babies, we should call you miscarriage. Who wrote that line? Because for season 2, come on. There are some vicious lines in that keep me from hating it. Man. Bruce Lee versus Clint Eastwood is just kind of a bunch of race jokes, and I'm not a big fan. Nikola Tesla versus Thomas Edison is going to go into A tier. It's teetering on S tier. We'll see what else I put into S tier if I decide to move it or not. But Tesla versus Edison is such a good battle. Oh, it's so good. I'm not usually one for the do real rivalries as a rap battle, for the most part. But this is an example of a time that it works. Jobs versus Gates is going to go into B tier. I feel Jobs versus Gates is a little overrated, but it is also really good. So it doesn't go into A tier, but it does get to go into B tier. Batman versus Sherlock is F tier. It's not good. Pete's Batman isn't good. Sherlock's second verse is literally just, ha ha, your parents are dead. But it's said twice, because it's once in his head, and it's once out loud. So it's not great. Michael Jackson versus Elvis Presley, A tier, once again teetering on S tier. There is a lot to delve into with that battle. Wow, there is an overwhelming amount of F tier right now. We're still in the early ERB. This is a series that gets better as it goes on. There's so much to delve into with Jackson versus Presley, and they hit so hard and so deep with the lines in that battle. It's really good. Gandhi versus MLK, very, very good. It's very much helped by the Key and Peele performance. Those guys are geniuses. I highly doubt that this is ever going to be something they can do again, because I know Peele is incredibly busy these days. But I would love to see them do a third one. They've got 2, and both of them are really, really good. I would love to see a third Key and Peele ERB one day. Santa versus Moses, I'm going to put into C tier. It's because it doesn't have that in-depth of rhymes, but it has a lot of funny rhymes, and Snoop Dogg Moses is phenomenal. I absolutely love that. Out of principle, Romney versus Obama is going to the F tier. I hate all 3 election battles. I don't think they should do election battles. They're very... No. If you want to do the election battles, put them into the Flash in the Pan series, because that's what it is. the election is a flash in the pan conflict. Leave it there. Don't do it as an actual battle. Use those resources for something that actually should exist. So you know where the other, you know what, where are they? Since I already said that all the election battles are trash, where's the other one? Those go there too. Also, I don't think we needed to use Trump 3 times just because of the election battles. I don't. I think the only one that warranted existing was Trump versus Hillary, because that had such an internet and meme presence, but I still don't think it should exist. Rasputin versus Stalin, B tier. It's very good, and it started up the Royale format that is really, really good. Also, I didn't know about any of those 5 dudes whenever that battle came out. So, I like whenever ERB teaches me about people that I know nothing about. It's one of the appeals of the show. Babe Ruth versus Lance Armstrong, the sports battles are really, really good. I don't care about sports to begin with, but like, the sports ERBs are really, really good. This was another one that was my favorite for a while. I really like this battle. The second Babe Ruth verse, love it. Frank Sinatra versus Freddie Mercury is a really, really good one, sandwiched between the two titans of, and I say titans in terms of popularity and the actual way that they wrote the battles, as opposed to quality. The two titans of Jobs versus Gates and Obama versus Romney. And it gets overshadowed because of that. But I can only put it in C tier because they really should have dug deeper with that one. There's a lot more to delve into with both sides. Mozart versus Skrillex is going to go in C tier. I used to like it a lot more. I also used to think Mozart won, but I re-listened to it. It's not as good as I thought, and wow, did Skrillex destroy Mozart. Vader vs. Hitler 2, B tier. It is the best of the trilogy. Without question. Easily the best of the trilogy. I still don't love it, but I do like it. And then to finish off Season 2, we have Mario Brothers vs. Wright Brothers, which I'll go D tier because it's funny. It's not good, but it is funny. And now we do Season 3, oddly enough starting with the finale. Artist vs. TMNT is going to go into D tier because this is a situation where I do like the name matchup because it's unique in that it's a team matchup going off of their names. And it was the first time that they put together a group of different people who otherwise aren't really a group. It's like, from what I know, Donatello lived and died before any of the other 3 existed. Raphael and Michelangelo hated each other, and Leonardo kind of just did his own thing. But the Turtles needed so much more. The Turtles needed so much more, especially after that first verse. That first artist verse makes that battle so imbalanced. I really don't like whenever ERB does, like, very unbalanced verses. Like, why? Why are we doing this? Both sides should be given a proper shot, you know? It's like, for the most part, when I do writing for battles, I try to be sure that each verse is written to be the same number of syllables. So it's like, first verse for the first rapper is 10 lines, second rapper gets 10 lines. Then I do like a 6 or 8, you get 6 or 8. Unless it's something like the Scrooge battle or the Ivan the Terrible battle, where one person is battling a bunch of different people and therefore, by default, has the most lines. Blackbird versus Al Capone. I'm going to put that in S tier. I'm going to say Blackbird versus Al Capone deserves S tier. It is such an underrated battle. It's such a good battle. I love the visuals of it. I love the Assassin's Creed presence in it. I want an Assassin's Creed battle so badly. I want them to do Sam Beckett from Quantum Leap versus Desmond Miles from Assassin's Creed, and probably have Desmond leap into like Ezio or Altair. It makes total sense. They both leap into the bodies of people in the past. Sam does it by leaping into people who were alive during his own lifetime and fixing things that went wrong. Desmond leaps into people who are within his bloodline, and he can't change anything, otherwise he desynchronizes. Also, you could throw Al in there, and it would have a lot of very funny interactions and stuff. I think that they should do that. I technically have already presented that idea to Lloyd myself, and he was a pretty big fan of it. I really want them to do that one day. It's such a good idea. But anyway, to the one at hand, pirates are cool. I wouldn't say gang members are necessarily cool, but the way they're portrayed in media is. You feel me? And these two basically crime lords going against each other and cutting as deep as they did. Oh, and Capone. Capone? Oh. Oh my god. The Capone flow in that battle is so good. I can't even remember what it is at the moment. This is Capone rapping. I'm Captain this Captain. Capiche? Oh. That's not where the flow is really good, though. The flow is earlier in this verse. I can't even think of what the lyrics are. Oh, God. Goku versus Superman. A tier. This one deserves a sequel. They should do a Goku versus Superman 2. They did a really good job with a really short battle. I think they should do a second one because there's a lot more material to cover. They should do another one. Easily. Rick Grimes versus Walter White. A tier, or B tier rather. It's a good battle. It's very entertaining. I like the matchup. I do think there was definitely more to talk about on both sides, though. There should have been another verse, or the last two verses should have been more than 4 bars. Also, I keep making jokes about this recently. It's so funny that, like, Walter ends on a line about Lori and Shane getting it on, but, like, there was a whole thing in Breaking Bad about Skyler getting with Ted. So it's like, he's lucky the battle ended where it did, otherwise Rick would have brought it back around. Joan versus Miley, I'm going to put into C tier. There are some good jabs in it, and I kind of get why they did it, but I feel like Joan had a better opponent. Either Katniss or Mulan. Both of those are much better opponents than Miley. I probably personally wouldn't have ever used Miley, if I'm being real. Michael Jordan versus Muhammad Ali, I'm going to put that into S tier. Yeah. Once again, Key and Peele killed it. They did phenomenal with it. The jokes and jabs in it are so... They're such deep cut. They're so performed well. Love it. Great battle. Stephen King versus Edgar Allan Poe is B tier because it's written very well. But King is insulted more in Joker versus Pennywise. So... Okay, so let me talk about that. Let me talk about this. Watsky and Sherwin are lyrical titans that I could never hope to be on the same level as, ever. That being said, I feel like both of them put more focus into the delivery than they do the actual meat of the punch, because I'll leave Zack for a different one. I think there's a different one I can focus on Zack with this. For Watsky, I'm going to focus on it here, where it felt more like he was focusing on making sure that he was writing in the Poe style and was doing the fast rap in the second verse. And I respect both of those things, and I love how both of them turned out, but I feel like it needed a few more heavy hitters. So I can't put it higher than B. But it is one of my favorite matchups. I have been wanting that one since getting into this series. Isaac Newton versus Bill Nye goes into A tier. Okay, for one, it has Weird Al in it, which automatically, yeah. All three of the performances are really done well. I really want them to get Weird Al again, and I really want them to also get Charlie Tuna again. Both of them did great. I would love to see them return for future roles. Pete's Bill was hilarious, and the jabs and cuts were all really, really good. Bob Ross versus Pablo Picasso. I'm going to put it a B tier. It's very fun, very light. Pablo's second verse is kind of lacking because it's literally just his name. Scrooge versus Trump, I'm going to put it a B tier. It's really, really good. The concept of doing Christmas Carol as a rap battle is such a fun idea, and I love that they did it. Vader vs. Hitler 3 is going to go into D tier. It's just not as good. The Boba Fett cameo isn't necessary. Hitler tried to rhyme mouse with mountain, and his verses just weren't as good. The only good verse in that one is Vader's verse. Like, I feel like Hitler's shock humor of the like, you stink, Vader, your style smells like shower, you need to wash up, dog, here, step in my shower, and you look stressed, Vader, you appear to be in pain, you need a vacation, here, take a trip on my train. Those are both really good, but I really don't like the 1 and 3. You're just a sad-ass middle robot freak who needs some lovin' while I baked you something here, pop it in my oven. I don't like that one. That one's just, it's not as good as the other two. The other two are good. That one's not. Well, you know, good as in, it's a well-written verse. It's a well-written lyric, rather than the content is good. Pause. Asterisk. And finishing off season 3 is George Washington versus William Wallace. B tier. The more I listen to that one, the more I like it. It's a very, very good one. I really like it. I feel like the last line could have hit a little harder, but aside from that. Season 4, which I consider to be the best season of ERB. I don't dislike any in season 4. One of them I think is a little subpar, but I don't hate it. But Shaka Zulu versus Julius Caesar, S tier. Oh, I think that Shaka did need more, but what they gave him was really good, and Caesar just, absolutely. Houdini versus Copperfield, A tier. That's a very, very good one. I think it could have had a little bit more to it, but I'm not complaining about what we got. The Philosopher's Battle, S tier, S tier, S tier. All day, S tier. Oh my, yes. Yes, S tier. On the Philosopher Battle. Are you kidding? Oh. So originally, it was just going to be Socrates versus Confucius. They're like, this is boring. It was going to be during season 3. They scrapped it, did something else. I don't remember what took its place. Didn't happen until season 4. And to make it less boring, they threw in more dudes who might be considered boring and made one of the best battles of the series. And those two were the only two that I knew going into it. Like I said, I love when ERB teaches me about people that I have no idea about. Actually, somewhere. I don't know where I put it. I don't know where it is. It should be here. This is on my bookshelf. Somewhere. I found it. I found it. Little something that I picked up while I was in France. And I went to the store Shakespeare and Company. Is a Nietzsche novel that I have only read this much of years ago when I first got it, which is coming up on 7 years ago. I also got the whole Lord of the Rings trilogy and still haven't read it either. Oprah versus Ellen. C tier. This is the one that I think is a little subpar. I don't hate it, but it has a lot of room to be better, but also it's really entertaining. Ghostbusters versus Mythbusters, A tier. The most amount of rappers that they have ever had in an ERB is in that battle. And all of the performances are great. Especially Pete and Lloyd as Jamie and Adam. I love it. It's so entertaining. The Marshmallow Man verse is so funny. I love it. I absolutely love that battle. And the fact that they added in the Mythbuster guitar riff to the instrumental. Oh, yes. Lewis and Clark versus Bill and Ted. Very, very good. Introduced me to Bill and Ted, which is one of my favorite movies now. The first one. Bogus Journey's not that great, and I haven't seen Face the Music. But I love Excellent Adventure. Only issue is that Lewis and Clark don't feel enough like individual characters. They spend so much time rapping at the same time that it doesn't feel like they're two different people. And Rhett and Link never changed their voices. They're very good rappers, but they never change their voices for who they're playing. Stan Lee versus Jim Henson. B tier. It's very, very good, but the Disneyverse is... I have mixed feelings on the Disneyverse, and I think Jim needed it a little bit more as well. Hannibal Lecter versus Jack the Ripper. S tier. Absolutely love that battle. I love that battle. I love the instrumental. It got me into watching Silence of the Lambs, finally, which is my favorite. I guess it's a horror film, but I very much hesitate to call it a horror film because it feels so different from the rest of the genre. It's more of a psychological thriller, and I absolutely love it. And I love the character of Hannibal. Romeo and Juliet versus Bonnie and Clyde, A tier. Grace and Hannah were hilarious in it. I absolutely love their performances. Lloyd and Pete also, of course, were just as funny. The ending where they actually all die, very unique ending for ERB. RoboCop vs. Terminator, A tier. It's a very entertaining one. The performances are both good. Lloyd's Arnie voice is great. I love the flow that RoboCop has. It also has some of the best backgrounds, I think. I think some of the best backgrounds come out of RoboCop vs. Terminator. Spielberg vs. Hitchcock is also going to go into A tier. I don't want to put it in S tier because I think Stanley Kubrick needed more lines. I feel like Kubrick definitely is hindered in that battle and would have benefited from having more lines. Zeus vs. Thor, S tier. The stop motion animation in that one is phenomenal. I love mythology, and all of the lines in that battle just hit the right notes for me. That finishes up season 4. Now we go into season 5. Banner versus Jenner, F tier. Yes. As much as the first 2 verses are good, it is not a good battle. This goes back to the whole unbalanced rhyme thing. Who okayed that last Jenner verse to go on that long? It's like a 16-bar verse. That should have been snipped. Like, the gigantic middle section should have been snipped and put in another Hulk verse. Or better yet, don't do this matchup to begin with and do Banner versus Jekyll. Like what should have happened. Like what everyone actually wanted, and not whatever that was. Bond versus Powers, S tier. I didn't like this matchup, but then when we got it, oh, it was my favorite for a while. I love this battle. I love the just initial matchup, but then the twists of bringing in the Sean Connery Bond to fight both Powers and Daniel Craig Bond. Delightful. I love that. And the performances were all top-notch, too. Instrumental was fantastic. The visuals, love it. Roosevelt versus Churchill also goes in S tier. A lot of heavy-hitting punches. Basically, when you put Lloyd and Dan Bull together, you're going to get an amazing product. We need a third one. It also has to start with Dan's character asking for a beverage of some sort. Because both Jack and Winston do. Deadpool versus Boba Fett, S tier. So learning that they were going to do a Deadpool battle was very exciting. It was around the time that I started getting into comics. I consider 2015 to sort of be my cultural reset year. That was the year I started getting into comics because I loved Age of Ultron. It's the year I started getting into anime because of Death Note and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. It's the year I got into RWBY. But learning that they were going to be doing a Deadpool battle a few months before the movie, I was kind of skeptical. Because I'm like, it's Deadpool, and they weren't ecstatic about using Deadpool. But then they released it, and it was one of the best battles. It was my favorite at the time. It's still one of my favorites. The portrayal of Deadpool is so perfect. Like, you can mess up the fourth wall jokes so easily. But they did it so nicely. I like it. I like what they did. And the inclusion of the voice boxes from the video game, very nice, very nice. I think the video game is where they did a lot of their research. to be fair, considering that's also his location. Ivan the Terrible versus All of the Greats is A tier. It's very, very good. I do wish that Frederick had a little bit more. But this is where I think Zach's writing is peak. Because he delivered phenomenally and punched properly. Both at the same time. That is, I think, the peak of Zach's writing is in that battle. Unless there's another battle that he did lyrics for that I don't know, where I like the lyrics more. I don't know. Tony Hawk versus Wayne Gretzky. I'm going to put it into A tier. It was my favorite for a little bit. Not so much anymore, but it is still a very good one. Like I said, the sports battles are good. Unless it's Banner versus Jenner. But It's a very fun battle, very unexpected battle. Whenever I first saw them, I didn't even register it as being an actual battle. I thought someone just did a really good Photoshop for their own fan-made battle, and it's like, wait, no, this is the next battle. I'm like, who is Gretzky? But did a little bit of reading up on him after that, and watching the battle. It is one of my favorite lines, though. Let's skip the kick flips and mick twists. You'll be speechless after 3 periods like an ellipsis. A hockey game has 3 periods. 3 periods is what an ellipsis is, a ... which references silence. But also, this was a battle that had 3 verses per rapper, so each verse was a period. It's so good. It's so good. I love that line. I absolutely love that line. Frederick Douglass versus Thomas Jefferson. I wasn't huge on it whenever it first happened, but I've come to enjoy it more. Frederick destroyed Jefferson, by the way. Just so we're on the same page. Jefferson was absolutely wrecked. Just saying. Darwin versus Ketchum goes into A tier. No, I'm going to put it into S tier. I do think that the cut, like the break in the rapping just for Ash to say the one line, is weird and should have been removed. It's not funny, it's just weird. It doesn't flow. It ruins the flow. I think it should have been removed. But aside from that, having Matt Forio and Cam Greeley help on this battle is exactly what made it as good as it needed to be. I do think that the Charlie Sheen line should have been removed with something a little bit more relevant. But even with that and the other complaint, that's not enough to remove it from S tier. It almost did. But I'm going to keep it in S tier just because having a Pokemon ERB be that good, I love it. I love it. I also just thought it was really cool that Matt and Cam got to work on an actual ERB after being part of the ERB fan community for so long. George R. R. Martin vs. J.R.R. Tolkien, B tier. It's enjoyable to the point that I'll put it in B, just a little bit above mid. It's still not great, though. Peter vs. Lloyd 2 is A tier. It's what the first one was, but a lot better. Gordon Ramsay versus Julia Child, I'm going to put it to A tier. It would be S tier if Gordon's first verse was better. Gordon's first verse doesn't do much at all. But the other 3 verses are really, really good. So it gets to go to A tier. Wonder Woman versus Stevie Wonder goes into D tier. Why? Wonder Woman versus Xena was right there. And you pick this dumb matchup. T-Pain did good as Stevie Wonder. I can't deny that. But I wanted Wonder Woman versus Xena, not this. There's no reason to do this matchup. This matchup is dumb. And not dumb in a funny way. It's just stupid. It's not a good match. Oh, they're both named Wonder. Do they have anything else that warrants it? No? Okay, don't do it then. It doesn't go into F tier because of T-Pain's performance. And it does have a bunch of funny lines, too. George Carlin versus Richard Pryor gets to go into A tier. I feel like both Pryor and Carlin needed to have more disses towards each other. That's why it's not an S tier. Because other than that, Cosby getting Cosby'd, the entire Joan Rivers verse, and just Lloyd's perfect performance as Robin Williams, all stellar. But then Carlin and Pryor, the 2 title ones, bring it down, which is very unfortunate. Jacques Cousteau versus Steve Irwin goes into A tier. Very, very good battle. Very fun. Kind of campy performances, which I really like. I really like. Okay. I thought one was missing. I was looking for a specific one. I'm like, wait, well, someone's missing. Just now realized we're headed into season 6. How long have we been in season 6? Vlad versus Dracula is a C tier, I think. No, I'll go into B tier because the performances are good. It's just that Dracula doesn't hit that hard. Very good performance on Pete's part. What I've said a lot of the time is Pete is the better actor, Lloyd is the better rapper, Zach is the better writer. But with Zach writing, it's more about the flow and the rhymes than it is the hard punches, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that when that battle comes. But Pete as Dracula is a very, very, very good performance, but it's not good in terms of disses. Guy versus Che is A tier. I think a few lines could have hit a little harder, but man, I love the matchup. The matchup is really, really good and very unexpected. Robert Rico, is that his name, who plays Che? Phenomenal. Bring him back for something, please. There's some... I actually told him this when I was on the Patreon. I said, there's something about the way that he performs. It's more like V for very bad had. It's like it's a very dumb joke, but something about the way he performs it makes it funnier than it should be. I'm still baffled that Guy versus Che, I believe it still has more views than Kruger versus Wolverine. And I don't know how in the world that could be the case. But it is. And that's weird. And Kruger versus Wolverine came first by 2 weeks. I don't know how it happened, but it did. Joker versus Pennywise. This is my favorite battle, just overall. I wasn't a huge fan of the matchup at first, but oh my... all of the visuals, all of the jokes, both the performances. Pete's voice for Joker? The costumes are really good. I really like the yellow gloves on Joker. It's a very nice touch. Do I want... Okay, so when I was on the Patreon whenever they started writing this one, they asked for monster-related suggestions. And this is 2019, so I'm like, well, Pennywise is a monster. And It Part 2 is coming out. Joker isn't a physical monster, but he is a monster in other ways. And the Joker was coming out. So I submitted it. I don't know if I should feel like I'm responsible for this battle existing, because everyone has been wanting it and suggesting it since the start. So I don't know if I should, just because I was one of the most recent to have put it on their radar whenever they decided to do it, or what. Though it's funny because I think Pete actually rejected the idea initially. And then they ended up doing it anyway. And it's the best one. Speaking of clowns, though, Ronald McDonald versus the Burger King goes into A tier. It's very, very funny. I love that they took a flash in the pan and made it an actual battle, and just made slight adjustments like adding in Wendy, or doing the ice cream machine joke, or hold on, before I do this, let me ease the throat, and then I'll then I'll try to do it. The other joke being number 15, Burger King foot lettuce. The last thing you'd want in your Burger King burger is somebody's foot fungus, but as it turns out, that might be what you get. I hate doing that. I hate that. It was a very fun battle, and I love the dynamic that Pete and Lloyd have as Ronald and BK. Mansa Musa versus Jeff Bezos, S tier. Fantastic battle. Very, very well balanced. Lot of lines. It's a very long one. I like it. Screwface Jean, amazing as Mansa Musa. Absolutely love it. I hope he gets to come back for another rap battle at some point. He was great. Musk versus Zuck. B tier. It's very good, very funny. I think it has more material these days, though. Thanos versus Oppenheimer, A tier. I'm not gonna talk about the scrapped lyrics because I don't think those have been made public yet from the Patreon. But I think that the scrapped lyrics should have been added instead of the Fortnite or Thanos copter jokes. The scrapped lyrics were better, I think. But the first Thanos verse, as well as both Oppenheimer verses, really, really good. Harry Potter versus Luke Skywalker, I'm going to put an S tier. Once again, the Lego cinematography is phenomenal. Absolutely great. The jokes and rhymes are very, very good. Now, this one, I do get to claim some responsibility for. Not for it happening, because I've never delved into the world of Harry Potter, and I'm very indifferent to Star Wars. But I know something in this battle was because of me. Your acting is flat, your rap's R2-D2, bugger off to the afterlife where you're fat and see-through. And Harry zaps Luke into being the Force Ghost Luke from the current movies. When they were first discussing how to do this battle, they had talked about doing Luke and Harry through the ages, have them get older and go through their stories as the rap is going on. And you do actually see that. They do actually do that in the battle. But as soon as they said that, I'm like, Force Ghost Luke. And Pete immediately was like, yeah, Force Ghost Luke. And I was the first one to say it, because it was the first day of discussion for that battle. I'm the one who said, do Force Ghost Luke. And Force Ghost Luke happened. I have definitive impact on an installment of ERB because that was my idea to turn Luke into his Force Ghost self. And I will flex that forever. You will not hear the end of that anytime I talk about that battle. I'm getting a little teary-eyed. I'm not even gonna lie. I am a little emotional that I have a direct... There is a visual in an ERB that happened because I said to do it. That is just fact what happened. It is objectively the truth. Ragnar Lodbrok versus Richard the Lionheart. A tier. It's a very good one. It is a very, very, very good one. Do I think it could have been better? Maybe. Maybe. But I think it's good as is. Not S tier level, but very good as is. Mother Teresa versus Sigmund Freud, also A tier. A lot of deep punches, especially from Freud to Teresa. I really like the beat. I think the beat is really fun. And the voices are really, really fun too. Kruger versus Wolverine, A tier. I think a few lines could have been a little bit better, but I like the performances that Wax and Lloyd put on, and I am now just in love with Wolverine having a yellow and brown uniform instead of yellow and black or yellow and blue. The brown, give me yellow and brown Wolverine any day, honestly. The Johns battle is going to go into I'm going to put it in A tier. The thing holding it back from S tier is Wick. So this is the battle that I think proves what I said. Lloyd rapper, Zack writer, Pete actor. Pete as Rambo is hilarious throughout this battle. Because Rambo should not be in a rap battle in a rap battle at all. And that's what makes it funny. is just when I rip off my shirt and start streaming this songs about it and the suicide girls on your switchboards. You shouldn't be rapping, but it's funny. And he has a few pretty good disses in, like the McLean sounds where your marriage went. The last tight thing you slid in was an air vent. That's a really, really funny one. And McLean has all of the hard punches, and I think Lloyd has the best rapping out of them, which is a little bit weird to say, but I will elaborate when we get to the Zack part. Because I really like the delivery of "Lighten up, Wick, with your brooding saga. How about a little Kuna Matata, Baba Yaga?" Leave the underground coin game to Mario Brothers. I don't think he actually has that. You don't think he actually does the voice that I just did. But that's what he's getting anyway. But then there's Wick, who has... This is where I say Zack is really good with writing flow and rhymes, but not insults. Aside from Alex. Alex was his best performance, and I think that should be what he strives for. But, like, this sad broken dad joke in Popo is no foe for the virtuoso bad virtuoso. Oh ho ho to quivers and bows. I'm delivering blows, and when they land, it won't help to make fists with your toes. That's really, really good flow, but man, did you not insult him at all? I've not seen John Wick, but isn't the whole point of the Wick movies that he is going to try to kill people because they killed his dog? And his response to McClane insulting his dead dog is to say, "You're such wieners, I shall call you both John Shaft." Like, I don't know these movies, but I feel like that isn't how he would respond. Bitcoin, no. Hitcoin, certainly. I'll put you two in tubes, call it cryptocurrency. I get what you're going for, but it feels like such a forced joke. Wick is definitely the weak part of that battle. But I can't fully hate it because the flow and rhymes do work. They just don't hit as hard as they should. And finally, Croft versus Jones. I'm going to put it to S tier. I love that we got another really good video game battle. Croy did great as Lara Croft. Pete, I love his Indiana. I love the Indiana that he did. Also, there's just something really funny about... I don't know why, but like, Pete's Indiana talking about Crash Bandicoot was very funny to me. From Bandicoot to your family's playing ashes because you got a tragic history with crashes. I don't know why that line in particular is just really funny to me. But Laura destroyed him though. With that second verse, demolished. Yeah. Fridge isn't gonna save you from that one, Indy. So, there's the tier list. Much like all of my tier lists, a lot of these decisions are spur of the moment, but the extremes tend to stay where they are. The F's stay where they are, the S's stay where they are, typically. I do plan, whenever they do manage to finally get around to doing the next one, I plan on doing a reaction video to it. I know that at the end of Croft vs. Jones, there was that little snippet of Godzilla, and I'm very excited because it's not just the Godzilla. It was Shin Godzilla, which is my favorite version of Godzilla, and it's my favorite Godzilla movie. I am so excited to get a Godzilla battle. Anyway, there's the list. Tell me what you think. I'll leave a link to this tier maker down in the description below. And aside from that, all that YouTube algorithm stuff, liking, commenting, subscribing, watching, because that's technically algorithm stuff, I would imagine. So, yeah, all of that. And until next time, I will see you when I see you.